What is the most disgusting thing you have ever done that you took pleasure in? My wife and I had two wonderful daughters, 13 and 10, and a pretty healthy relationship. At some point things started to appear off. She got very clingy to her phone all of a sudden, made sure to delete the saved password feature on our common PC, stated having phone calls that suddenly ended when I came into the room. You can probably guess what it was. Now having 15 years of marriage behind us, I was hoping it wasn't what it obviously seemed to be. So one day when she told me she was going to spend some time with the girls, I decided to follow her. Sure enough, I find her driving to a hotel to meet with a guy I will call Steve. To say it was a gut punch was an understatement. I literally cried for an hour straight. After I was done with my self-wallowing phase, I decided the best course was getting even. I thought of several scenarios that may or may not have involved me hurting Steve. Eventually I decided to do things more civilly and more importantly legally, but only just. So the first part of the plan was gathering evidence. I could have just gotten a pie, but I had something better in mind. So one day when my wife was at her job and the kids at school, I installed some small secret cameras and microphones I had bought. Due to the setup of our bedroom, I even managed to get one perfectly overlooking the bed. I didn't however use them while I was at home. So a couple of days pass, when I proposed to my wife that the second to next weekend I should take the girls on a trip and stay a night too. I more often than not was the one cooking. I took a far more active role in raising the girls and showed them a lot more patience and attention. She was usually busy working or drinking, so me going alone with the girls on a trip wasn't that weird. So 2 weeks pass, in which time I get my affairs in order and contact a lawyer to write up a separation agreement that would involve me keeping residents in custody. I go on the trip, try to not give anything away to the girls and wait and see if Steve and my wife fall into the trap. When I returned I checked the recordings of the weekend, and sure enough it's a 36-hour fest. When they weren't doing the deed, the dialogue was something even better. I found out that Steve had a wife. But even worse, they also talked about me. And I heard the obvious character assassination that I expected about how small my PP was, an insecurity of mine, how I didn't satisfy her. But there was some really hurtful stuff, like her telling Steve some of my deepest secrets and shameful stories that I had only told her about, just so they could have a laugh. She even told him about my dope story and how I attempted to take my life when I was 16. So at this point I didn't have any doubts on what to do. The next day when the kids left, but before my wife left, I confronted her with the video and told her that either she signs the separation agreement and leaves the house or the girls are going to receive an in-depth explanation of all the positions in which mommy cheated on daddy. I wasn't gonna do that. Just to be clear, I love my daughters too much, but I put the threat there and she was too emotional to realize my bluff. She went through all the stages, denying everything, trying to bargain, threatening me, and getting angry. I let it go through all that stuff. Eventually she signed the paper and she departed that very evening after she told her goodbyes to the girls. I didn't show or tell the girls anything graphic. I was always very honest with them, which is another reason why I was always the favorite parent, so I just said that mommy had been unfaithful. The younger took some time figuring it out, but that was made up by my older getting mightily upset. She had just gotten her first boyfriend, as I'm not sure the term really applies at that age, but she knew enough of the world to get mad big time. This would be important at a would-be custody battle, as though she did for the moment agree to give over custody. I feared, and I was right to fear, that she would try and fight me for the kids. What I didn't expect was for her to use her visitation rights to talk crap about me. Basically she started telling my younger kid about how it was all my fault for not forgiving her. Her lawyer even started demanding she receive custody. So I finally activated my revenge plan. Enter trip to South Carolina. Why South Carolina? Simple. Fort Sumter. I really wanted my daughters to see it. I definitely did not go there because it is one of the last places where revenge porn isn't illegal, and where I could upload my wife and Steve's doings and intimate moments with no worries on the internet and other such sites, as you cannot be prosecuted for crimes that weren't illegal when and where they were committed. I especially made sure to include the clip where Steve could not get it up. I sent the links to my wife's employer, her clients, and everybody in her line of work just to be sure, to Steve's wife and to his firm. Steve soon got a divorce. I feel sorry for his wife as she was an innocent victim in all of this, but I think it's better that she found out. As for my wife, this was the end of any chance to get custody. She soon got fired from her job of 8 years. I got custody. Yes, due to her being unemployed, I got no alimony, but honestly I make enough money to sustain both me and the girls, so I don't care, and I'm good enough at caring for them and they are old enough to allow me to have a full-time job. Several months later, my wife is still unemployed. Last time I spoke to her wife she threatened to come and take my life and how this will be revenge for ruining hers.
22F, asked my boyfriend, 41M, about his thoughts on the possibility of having a one-sided open relationship, and he broke up with me. Let me start by saying that our age gap isn't the issue. My boyfriend is the best thing to happen to me in my adult life because of his age, not despite it. Over the 5 years we've been together I've grown so much as a person thanks, in large part, to his gentle love and overwhelming support and maturity as he was able to guide me through the beginning of adulthood. None of my friends in long-term relationships have anything like what my boyfriend and I have, and they all say they wish they did. Also, he's more attractive and in better shape than all their boyfriends. So if your first reaction to this situation is that some dirty old man is taking advantage of a young naive girl, then you're wrong. Anyways, he is an administrative supervisor at my company. He trained me my first 2 weeks on the job when I first got hired, and we hit it off immediately because we have a lot of things in common. Nothing happened then, but I just couldn't stop thinking about him. So after about a month I stopped by his office after work and asked him out for coffee. 6 months later I moved in with him. That first year was the best time I've ever had in a relationship. We traveled, ate out, went to shows and movies. He taught me so much about life. He would really engage with me and listen to what I had to say. He also wasn't afraid to ask me those really tough questions that made me look at situations from another perspective. He taught me how to stand up for myself, and conflict resolution. The more time we spent together, the more I love him. Then the virus happened. My boyfriend is not perfect. One major problem is he is a micromanager when it comes to work, and a workaholic. As soon as lockdown started, he started working nonstop. Sometimes he would work 14 to 16 hours a day. From the end of April to the second week in June, he worked 36 days straight. He would come home, kiss me, work out, shower, and go to bed, just to get up the next morning and do it all over again. No one asks him to work like that, he just does. He says, I have to be an advocate for our team, and make sure they're in good hands. Due to his work ethic, I got really lonely during this time. I talked to him about it, and he cut back some of his work. He even started doing silly things like ordering cheesy decorations online, then decorating our dining room like a Chinese restaurant and ordering takeout from our favorite Chinese place so it would feel like we went out. It was fun and nice, but I was still lonely. Around this time, an old friend from high school contacted me through Facebook. We started talking first on a message, then we started texting. He was really there for me, and showed me a lot of attention. After a while he asked if I wanted to meet up for drinks. I said yes, since my boyfriend wasn't home. I ended up drinking more than I usually do. Before I knew it, we were kissing. I'm not going to lie, it felt really good. I did allow it to go too far, but I only gave him brain and no intimacy was had. I left and went home. I felt awful, not because I did it, but because I did it behind my boyfriend's back. The next day I asked my boyfriend if we could talk. I started out by telling him how lonely I felt for these past few months and how I wanted to ask his thoughts on an open relationship. He was actually really receptive. He sat down with me and asked several questions about our relationship, and how strong did I think it was. He listened as I explained that I loved him but needed attention that he can't provide right now. I wanted him, but I didn't feel like my needs were being met, and this would be an easy and safe way for me to get that attention I've been missing. He asked what brought this on, and I explained about my friend, and how I wasn't interested in a relationship with him, but I would like to go out with him just for some distraction from everything going on. I then also took the time to inform him that this would be a one-sided open relationship. I was not comfortable sharing him with any other woman. However, I explained to him how this is completely different with me. I don't work nearly as much as he does, I am alone a lot more, and need the connection from someone else way more than he does. Since he works all the time, he has no time to even look for partners. After I said all of this, he sat there for several minutes, and that's when I saw the hurt and pain in his eyes. It was until that moment I realized how selfish I had been. It was like someone poured ice water over me. I had not once thought about him in this entire situation. But before I could say a word he said, "You need to leave." I tried to talk more, but he said he was not in a place emotionally to communicate with me effectively, and that I needed to give him space. I just broke down crying. I had messed it all up, and hadn't even realized it till that moment. He left after that and asked me to leave before he got back. About 2 hours later, I got a text from him saying that we need some time apart, and he didn't feel like we needed to be in a relationship right now. That was 2 days ago. I'm at my parents' house now, and I can't eat, or sleep. I'm a wreck. I know I'm a dumb idiot and a horrible person, but please, if you have any advice on how to fix this, please help. My lesbian daughter is trying to force our whole family to dye our hair for Pride Month, so I gave her a brutal reality check. So my 15-year-old daughter has recently come as out lesbian. She is our only child, and my husband and I were extremely supportive of her. We have since stayed up many nights, doing research on how to better support your child after coming out. But our daughter almost seems to have gotten a whole lot worse attitude-wise. Since coming out, she has made every single conversation she has about gay people, about the discrimination they face, which are real issues, and I can't deny that. My main problem is when she tells us to try harder to be allies to her. At first my husband and I tolerated this kind of things from her, but as time went on it has become harder and harder to keep her mouth shut. It doesn't help that if anyone doesn't agree with her on a topic, even if it's anything not at all related to her sexuality, she is quick to call homophobia. My husband and I have become victims of these things a lot, and it hurts a lot when the daughter that you love dearly and truly support claims that you are homophobic and don't love her. It all boiled over yesterday night during dinner. It is Pride Month, and my daughter has dyed her hair in order to support it. Cool, I have nothing against it. I think Pride is a good cause to support, and my husband and I support it myself. We promised my daughter we would attend the parade with her a few weeks ago. Well, last night my daughter started talking about Pride, and how important it was for everyone to do as much as they can in order to show support. She then went on to say that she thinks it's disgusting how a straight person will not openly show support during Pride, and compared it to racism. We got into a conversation about it, and during it our daughter told us she would like us to dye our hair for the month of Pride. She said it can be any color, as long as the color is on the rainbow. I told my daughter that as much as we support her, my husband and I were not going to do that. We told her we don't see how us dyeing our hair was going to do anything really. She blew up, calling us homophobic, saying that we don't support her, saying we're anti-gay and so on. My husband was the one who actually had enough and he yelled stop so loud that even I got scared for a second. Our daughter instantly got quiet but I could see she was still angry. My husband started speaking and told her to check her privilege. She tried asking how she was privileged, and my husband replied. He stated that she is gay, and is fortunate enough to live in a country where the LGBTQ community are not seen as animals. He told her that she gets to prance around calling people names if they disagree with her and call homophobia if she doesn't like something. My husband then pulled something up on his phone. He told my daughter to look. It was a video of gay people in less progressive countries speaking about how they were treated, followed by a video of a gay person being punished. The video was horrible. Once it ended, my husband told her that this was the reality for a lot of gay people in the world, and the fact she screams homophobia at us for not dyeing our hair during Pride Month is incredibly insensitive to gay people everywhere else in the world. He told her that not dyeing our hair isn't homophobia, and if she thinks she is then she has been brainwashed. My daughter left without saying much, and has not spoken a lot to us today either. I know we need to talk to her, but we don't know how. I rode my friend on the couch while other friends were sleeping. No regrets. On Friday, my friends and I were renting an Airbnb in the city center area. It was 7 of us. We all went out to hang out and drink. One of us was the designated driver, let's call him Ben for this story. We all went and had a really good time. We decided to head back at around 2. I wasn't stupidly intoxicated, I was tipsy, I still could function well but super slowly. We got back and went to whatever room there was, they couldn't function well anymore lol. I on the other hand could still take a shower and brush my teeth, with a headache but hey I survived. I was walking out of the bathroom and out of the room with just a towel on. Went to grab water and Ben saw me walking in a zigzag so slowly like a slug on crack, Ben's exact words lol. Ben got up from the couch and helped me walk to the kitchen, I drank, he still helped me walk and I said I'll sleep on the couch. He walked me to the couch and I just dropped myself on one side of the couch and just passed out. The couch was this big L-shaped couch, I passed out on the shorter side. Later I opened my eyes and saw Ben slept on the longer side of the L couch. I woke up freaking thirsty and it was bright already. I got up and drank some water and then peed a ton, all of that while naked, my towel was on the floor by the couch. I didn't realize at first but when I walked back to the couch, I saw Ben was sleeping on his side, facing me, and awake. We made eye contact until I got close to the couch and he flipped sideways and had his back facing me. I then decided to squeeze myself into this small space on the inner side of his sleeping spot. He was surprised at first but then opened his arms to let me have some space. We cuddled for a little while until he started to sniff my head and said I'm glad you showered last night. I lifted up my head from his chest and just kissed him. We were making out and he moved his hand to my already wet wimp and teased my CLT. I slipped my hand down his pants and his morning wood was already hard as F. I got up and stripped his pants and climbed to ride him. I was riding him slowly yet always all the way down balls deep. He pulled me down to kiss me while I was still sitting on his PP balls deep. He then hugged me to keep me in place and he started to pound me so effing fast and deep. I buried my face on his neck to lower down my moan. He kept effing me like that until he wanted to get up to see M on me. I refused and put my whole weight on him to keep myself in what position and he groaned a loud OF and came deep inside me. It was intense for him as he was groaning for a while and I could feel my wimp was flooding, perfection, heart. I stayed on top of him and was kissing his neck area until he calmed down and said you're effing naughty holy poop, I just grinned. We got up and cleaned up. I tiptoed into the room my bag was in, put on clothes, and my 2 friends inside that room were still passed out. I went to check the others and found one guy friend was awake. I asked him if he was awake for a while already and he said yeah. I woke up with intimacy noises but my head was spinning and too painful for me to check who the F watching adult films so early in the morning. I just smiled and asked if he wanted anything to drink or eat. Me and Ben had a talk later that day and we agreed on being F buddies, no string attached. So now I have 2 BWCs as F buddies, heart.
What is something that makes you the most happy? I'm so happy that my ex-wife is miserable. Found out my wife was having an affair. She met a guy at work and came home one day telling me she was in love with him, no longer loved me, and wanted a divorce. This was a guy she'd only known for 3 months. At the time, she and I had been together since we were in our 20s. We have 3 kids. Well, I tried to fight for my marriage and didn't want a divorce, but she simply would not stop seeing this guy. After one weekend where she disappeared from Friday afternoon to Sunday night, I ended up throwing her out of the house. She immediately moved in with this guy. The only excuse she ever gave me was, I never wanted to hurt you, but there's just something about this guy, and I deserve to be happy. That was it. That was the depth of her reasoning for throwing everything we built together away. We ended up finalizing our divorce in early 2022. Although I had very hard feelings toward her, I faked it enough to get pretty favorable divorce terms from her. It seemed she was so eager to be with her dream man that she didn't have time for a long divorce. So in the end, I got to keep my pension in the house, which I had bought from my grandmother. I did have to give her half of my 401k. However, the effect on our kids was pretty devastating. All three of them took it very hard. My oldest son told her that if she chose this man, he'd never have a relationship with her again. As of right now, neither of our sons has a relationship with their mother. Our daughter does talk to her from time to time, but their relationship is very strained to say the least. My daughter is a very kind person and she tries, but she usually ends her conversations with her mother even more upset than when they started. About 4 months after the divorce, my ex contacted me out of the blue. She told me she had made a terrible mistake and asked if she could come home. Dream man turned out to be an alcoholic who she says is verbally abusive and wasted all of her money. I used this opportunity to tell her exactly what I thought of her as a person, a wife and a mother. I told her this was her life now and to deal with it. I told her she no longer had a home at this house and to never contact me again. Then a few things happened over the last year that have driven her to start trying to contact me again. First off, I met someone. My sister introduced me to a friend of hers who is also divorced, and she and I hit it off. We've been seeing each other since last summer, and while we've agreed that neither of us wants to get married again, we are together. Once my ex heard about this, she once again tried to contact me, but I ignored her. My son also got married and didn't invite his mother. She again contacted me to try to get me to intervene on her behalf. I told her I would talk to him, but I never did. Secretly, I feel like she deserves all the pain she's feeling when it comes to our kids. She destroyed our family without so much as an afterthought. Too bad. So sad. Now, she recently told our daughter that she finally broke it off with a dream man because she could take his drinking and total lack of responsibility. He wasted her half of the 401k that I had to give her. He also totaled her car driving drunk. This from a man in his 40s. Again, she knew this guy for 3 months and torpedoed our whole family for him. On the face of it, I act like I feel sorry for her, but inside, I really delight in the fact that she's so unhappy. Call me evil or whatever, I don't care. She brought this on herself, and it serves her right. I actually had to sit there one Saturday night while she got ready for a date with this guy and laughed on the phone with her friend about how awkward our living situation was. I lived in hell for over a year because of her. Wait until she finds out our son and his wife are going to have a baby later this year. Maybe if she had been able to keep her legs closed, she'd get to meet her grandchild. Enjoy your shitty 1-bedroom apartment and your broken down used car. Me and my new partner will think of you when we're on vacation in Hawaii this summer. Hawaii was the trip my ex and I always planned to take once our daughter finished college. Maybe I'll send her pictures.